Welcome back to another episode of People Are Terrible. I'm Jeremy, joined as always with Caleb Miles.
What's up, people? How is you doing?
I'm glad to be back for another show, man. Did you have a exciting week? Did you do anything fun this week?
I worked all week. It was cool though.
So did you go see Godzilla?
No, I haven't seen a movie forever. I want to see Ma really bad. And I still want to see Brightburn.
Brightburn was all right. I went, man. You know, I've been debating on whether or not I should even do a Godzilla review. I've been looking forward to this movie for like 5 years. I watch Godzilla content. I've made Godzilla specifically content for that franchise, but I can't really say it's ever been good, right? So, like, I don't know why I was so disappointed by the new one.
So I hated the last one. Mm-hmm. I didn't like it at all. But this one looked to me more like Godzilla. Because to me, Pacific Rim was a better Godzilla movie than the Godzilla movie was.
That's the thing. I think that 2014 changed where I thought the direction of the franchise was headed. And this new one is very much it is more true to the Toho franchise roots, but I don't think I was expecting that. I thought they were going to take it more seriously, which you can't really have it both ways. You can't have a more grounded movie with Mothra, Rodan, Ghidorah, and King Kong in it.
But I kind of side with you on that because I actually just talked about it on like 2 podcasts ago, or maybe it was last podcast, where the new Ninja Turtles, the first one, they were like going a more serious route, and then everyone was like, it shouldn't be that serious, so they went goofier.
Yeah.
Stick to one. If you're gonna do Godzilla dead serious, then continue it serious.
I was a fan of the 2014 one, and I think the only way I can quantify it is by saying like it started off slow and it built to a crescendo. So there's actual fucking payoff at the end. Like, even though there's not a lot of Godzilla action in it, what you do see actually has a lot of impact because it slowly teases it out through the movie, which is, I think, a lot of the reason why other people didn't like it, where this one opens up with Godzilla versus Ghidorah. Godzilla gets his ass whooped, and then it slows down for a little while and finally comes back around to that, but it kind of feels like the momentum never really builds because it just kind of maintains like a baseline frequency all the way through the film.
It sounds more like a standard blockbuster. Like, standard blockbuster formula is open with an action scene, drop down, give a little story, ton of action, stay there for the rest of the movie.
Yes, this is 100% that. And 2 hours and 10 minutes, like, it really is one of those cases where I say, cut the people out of it altogether. Just give us a fucking hour-long movie with the kaijus fighting. I don't even care if I hear a word of dialogue in it, because Go ahead.
That's a new trend anyway. The movies, I'm okay with a long movie if there's a reason for it to be long, but everything now is just like 2.5 hours, 2 hours, and you're like, this doesn't warrant that long of a time. It'll be like an hour-long action scene that's not even a great action scene.
So, yeah, that's about what I did this week. I went and saw that. Me and Victoria's 11th wedding anniversary was Friday.
Nice, man. Congratulations.
It's a long time, right?
A long-ass time. I'm not too far behind you. I'm coming up on 10.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like, that's one of the true, like, moments of perspective that I have of, like, how actually old I am. Is I was not a kid when me and Victoria started dating. So yeah, it's been a long time. We were dating for like 4 years before we got married, so we've been together for like 15 years, dude.
I had a moment of that the other day. Some kid at work was saying something, and I said, "Oh, I was talking about I own Hulk issue 2, like in really great condition. First appearance of Green Hulk, and I actually have a crazy comic book collection. But I was talking about, would you ever sell that? I go, maybe in the future, when my kids are in college. He goes, do you have kids? I was like, no, but we're trying. He's like, how old are you? I was like, well, I'm married a decade. And this kid's like 25 or 23. And you could see he thought I was a dinosaur when I told him I've been together.
No doubt. So, dude, you mean Golden Age Hulk issue 2, like the original run? Yep. Oh, holy shit.
I have that. I have Giant Size X-Men. I have...
Giant Size X-Men? The first one?
Yep.
Damn.
I have the first appearance of Cable, first appearance of Wolverine and Hulk 181. I have 180, 181, and 182. I have the first appearance of Punisher. I have the first appearance of Abomination.
Where did Punisher show up first?
Huh?
Where did Punisher show up first?
It was Amazing Spider-Man. I cannot remember the issue, but I have it where he's holding... And that one's not the best quality. My Hulk is like pristine. It's unreal.
What made Giant Size X-Men giant? Just the size of the comic itself, right?
Yeah, it was just a thicker comic.
Did they do that with anything else?
No, I don't know if they did that.
That's a weird thing. You remember back... I'm sure you remember this. This is a rhetorical question. Do you guys remember the 2099 run of comic books that all happened like at the end of the 90s?
The only one that's really cool is the Spider-Man.
Spider-Man 2099 was good. Punisher 2099 was all right, but it was a real bad costume.
It was awful costume. With that like weird cyberpunk wannabe trench coat thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't the best design.
They ran with that though.
Hulk's 2099 design was pretty rough too.
He just looked like a demon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was a little weird.
I don't think I ever collected that, but I do remember looking at him now.
Yeah, because I have all that shit. Because despite what people think, I'm actually a massive Marvel fan. So I own all of anything Marvel. I got like nothing DC. But anything Marvel that's of event, I have a lot of it.
What the hell? That is true. Like, you're more of a Marvel fan comic-wise, and you like those horrible DC movies.
Yep. I like the good stuff. So I like the serious Marvel comics and the serious DC movies. All right. Do you remember Marvel Masterpiece cards? Yes, I had those too. Those were awesome. I remember the Black Tom card.
Who's Black Tom?
Black Tom, I forget what he's exactly from, but there's this card, and for whatever reason, I love the artwork of it.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I'm not even showing anybody that what we're talking about. They just got to take our word for it. Sorry, guys.
This is going to be interesting. Well, one of our stories has to do with comic books. So
I see you trying to steer this back onto the fucking course.
I know.
All right.
So starting off, this happened actually right up the street. This is in my neighborhood. Denver police looking for a suspect who stole more than $42,000 worth of comic books from Mile High Comics. So Mile High Comics, who anyone is unfamiliar with it, it's the world's largest comic book shop. It's like the size of a fucking Walmart.
I had no idea this even existed.
Yeah, it's huge. They have like it's made out of like plywood, but they have like a life-size X-Wing in there and stuff like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's an old warehouse. It's a comic book store. And you can go and you can ask for whatever comic, and they'll go pull it up on a laptop, and they'll go, yeah, let me go in the back, and they come out with it. It doesn't matter what it is. It's unreal. So the other day, a burglar smashed locked glass showcases at Mile High Comics and cut himself while stealing 14 comic books worth $42,000. He then tried to clean up the blood with Windex and a toilet bowl cleaner. Denver police are investigating the burglary that occurred early Sunday, where a man shown in surveillance footage forced entry into the store and stole items, according to Denver Police Department. Police would not detail what items were stolen, calling it evidentiary information, but Mile High Comics owner Charles Rosansky listed on Facebook the comics that were stolen. Let's see, the comics the man took were high-end collectibles. The person said 14 comics. There were Justice League comic first edition, which was worth about $15,000. So this guy, they've been looking for him pretty much everywhere because, yeah, he stole $42,000 and left his DNA all over the store as he cut himself.
So we don't have DNA back yet, right?
No. Well, I think they have it, but he has no record. so there's no it doesn't come up with anything.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. And have they taken the DNA of the owner of the store?
I don't know if they have. I haven't heard anything about that.
I mean, because look, I'm no detective, but I can usually sniff out a good insurance fraud case.
Well, that was the first thing that popped in my head. We were talking about it at work, and we were like, I'm sure this guy is fine with it being stolen, because he is making off like a bandit either way. Like, he doesn't care.
Yeah, and where are you getting your pricing from? Like, realistically, like, is there a... I used to use Wizard, but how do you know what a comic book is worth now? A price guide?
There's a comic book price guide that comes out every year. They're probably using that, is what I'm guessing that they're doing, is they're using a comic book price guide.
But if you took in a comic book to the comic book store and you asked them to give you what was on the price guide, they would laugh in your face, or you think they would be down to do it?
Your fucking face.
Right.
They'd be like, no.
But then a private collector, would they pay that much for the comic if they were searching for it?
I think if it went to auction, but that was my thing, is like, where the hell do you pass off some of this stuff? It seems very, it's not like you stole a TV. Like, you can sell that anywhere. Like, where do you pass off a $15,000 Justice League comic? And
that's what's also interesting, dude, is because the cops were like, we can't give you that information because it's confidential information. It could jeopardize the investigation. And then the owner of the store goes and lists them off on social media. And it's like, he is not naming just shitty comics, but obviously the person wouldn't go in there and take shitty comic books. It had to have been somebody that knows the value of them. So it was obviously shit. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a great question. I don't know who you would sell those to.
So I actually just found the list of the comics that were stolen. Avengers #1, Iron Man #1, New Mutants #98. I actually own that. That's the first appearance of Cable. Adam #1, Amazing Adventures, Tales to Astonish #54. I own that one too. Yeah. Spider-Man 129, signed by Conway. Thor 109, Fantastic 52, Justice League of America #1, All-Star Comics 18, Batman 103, Batman 123, and Original Superman Fan Club Letter. They said one of the things that was weird, though, is I've been to this. It's unreal, those glass cases, what they have. There were signed comics of Stan Lee in there that he didn't even touch, that were right next to it.
You wonder why.
Yeah, and apparently this isn't the first time that Mile High Comics has been burglarized, and the owner said it won't be the last. He's like, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I remember when I first moved here, we had a huge hailstorm, and it punctured a bunch of holes through the roof of that place, and like they ruined a bunch of comics too.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy. Holy cow. I'd never heard of the place before this, and then the fact that somebody would go in there to like a place that's got obviously some of the like most coveted comic books in the world. Why they wouldn't take more? It's like they had a certain shopping list they went in for. Maybe those Stan Lee comic books don't have the same value.
Maybe, but you would think, here's my thing, if you're already broken into, because I've been there, there's a big glass case, multiple of them, and there's one that has like Golden Age, one that has Silver Age. If I already broke the window, I'm taking everything.
All that shit.
Yeah, I'm not just like going on a little shopping trip. Picking through it. It's just, it's definitely, I'm assuming though, how would you even sell those? You can't do it online.
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess you sit on them for a while and hope that people forget. You know what I mean? Like
that's what I'm thinking. Like, because even then, I don't know if the barcodes are that specific or there's numbers. They would eventually pop up somewhere. I just think this guy's gonna have to sit on these comics forever or sell them for nowhere near what they're worth.
That's a good question. If you guys are interested in any comics, I know a guy. All right, well, cool. That's a crazy story. It actually did kind of tie into our weird unfocused tangent that I got us started on.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty fun. I was like, oh well, this actually was perfect timing for the bringing up the story.
So you brought more. You got some news today.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Principal admits accidentally plagiarizing 2013 Ashton Kutcher speech.
Wait, all right. So I kind of heard about this. It was a teacher?
Yes, it was a principal.
Okay, a principal at a middle school, elementary school, high school?
I think it was a high school, wasn't it? That he plagiarized Principal Kenny DeMoss, and he plagiarized actors Kutcher's 2013 Nickelodeon Teen Choice Awards speech. Let me see. It's Parkinson High School. Principal Kenny DeMoss issued a statement saying that he should have cited his sources for the May 23rd speech, but asserted the ideas were his own. Quote, I did not get all my ideas from Ashton. Format, yes. Thoughts and ideas were from my heart, he wrote, adding that he's upset the speech was stolen the focus from graduating students. Where is it?
What's his last name?
DeMoss?
Yeah, I thought so.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
The irony's not lost on me there. What a clown.
So, when you find someone better than Ashton Kutcher, I'm assuming. I mean, I haven't heard the speech, but I'm assuming it's not like, this isn't an MLK speech.
The kids who were watching the Kids' Choice Awards, that 2013 or 2014, are probably the same ones that ended up in that high school class where he's giving the speech. They're like, I saw this shit when I was a kid. I remember this distinctly because one of the kids had to have called him out, right?
I'm assuming that's what happened because you're right. They have to be right in that prime age group because I wouldn't recognize that speech.
Right.
So he said, a quote, this is the quote from the principal. Me and my family are the only ones being hurt here. My accuser isn't. I love kids and I love the school and this only makes me better.
Wow.
So my thing is, so first of all, you're a principal. You're pushing, education. One of the big no-nos in education is to not plagiarize someone.
Yeah. No shit. That's like the whole thing in high school these days is trying to make sure that kids aren't copying stuff off Wikipedia. And here you are.
Your sources.
Citing your sources is not fucking good enough if you are lifting the whole speech. That's the definition of plagiarism.
I think it's hilarious that his defense is, I should have cited my sources. So why would you even, I could write a speech right now for a high school, commencement. It's super easy. It's generic bullshit. You should be able to do that. Couldn't you write one right now if you had to?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And if I couldn't, I would go and modify the sentences in a way that people would hopefully not be able to know. But basically when he said I didn't write it, but the sentiments are my own, that's basically the equivalent of getting a Christmas card or birthday card, a fucking anniversary card from the store. Being like, no, I didn't write it, but it's my sentiments. It's like, but you didn't write it. Don't say you wrote it. That's all you got to do.
That's word for word, my feelings.
Yeah.
Even though apparently it says that the cadences and everything were the same. He pauses in the same spots and everything. I'm like, did you actually watch the video to match that up? What's going on there?
Let's see. I'm going to try to
pull this up.
Yeah. Let's see. Ashton Kutcher in 2013 speech. Yeah. He was actually in the news yesterday as well for something. I'm not going to play the speech. It's fine. It's not a big deal. But
Ashton Kutcher was in the news?
Yeah, he was actually. What the hell is that thing? He was actually called into court for a case that happened, I don't know, about a decade ago. He was dating a girl, and he went to pick her up for a party, and she did not answer the door. He thought she had already left to go to the party, but he looked into her window and saw what he quote-unquote thought was spilled red wine. The girl had been murdered by this guy named the California Ripper or the Hollywood Ripper. Apparently he murdered 3 women around the same time, and this is the first time that Ashton Kutcher's publicly spoken about it because of the ongoing investigation,
I didn't even hear about that at all.
Yeah, kind of crazy.
Yeah. It's one of those things that's just Yeah, I didn't even know that there was anything going on with that. So was it sentencing? Have they caught the guy? Do you know?
Yeah, they've caught him. He's in on trial right now. He was arrested, but I don't think he's actually been convicted of it yet. But it looks like they have a pretty compelling case about it, because back in like 2011, he was denying it. It looks like they've continued to build a case against him, because they pretty much know that the guy did it. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. I think the reason why I heard the story that I just told you is because I heard somebody mention the whole commencement speech thing. That's just dumb. It's just dumb. In the age of social media, it's like you're just begging to look like an idiot in front of the whole entire country. If you do anything stupid, somebody's gonna find you, and you're gonna pay for it.
That's why we put our stupid shit online for everyone to see directly.
Yeah, 100%. Cut out the middleman. You know what I mean? It's like, if anybody's gonna make an ass out of me, it's gonna be me. There's this Seattle man that he was a landlord, property owner, and he had several tenants living within this complex. And he built a fence around a car share vehicle at his duplex because somebody parked the car share vehicle in his duplex behind the fence. He didn't give him permission to, so he literally built a wall around this thing and is letting it rack up money that he can be paid back for it, because it's a private company. They can't like destroy his property, and he's got this structure built on his property, so they can't do anything about that. But they want their car out of the other side, and he's charging them like rent for it, and they're like, we're not going to be extorted. But I texted my buddy Dan, who lives in Seattle, and I'm like, are these cars like a problem? Like, is there a reason why this dude should be so pissed about it? And we just were kind of laughing about it. Like, car sharing seems like a relatively good idea, but obviously he did not want this thing fucking parked there.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, that's a cool way to do it, you know?
That's what I said. He's thinking outside the box, and you got to give somebody credit for that. He contacted ShareNow, the company that operates Car2Go, and gave them 2 hours to move the vehicle. A few hours after that, he erected the barricade, preventing other customers from using it. In a written statement, ShareNow suggested that that might amount to extortion. Spokesman Tim Krebs told the Associated Press that the company is seeking help from the police. Yikes.
Could you imagine if that's what you went to jail for? They'd be like, how did you end up in here? Extorted a rideshare company. Like,
yeah, people would be like, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I know. True. They've been there so long. They'd be like, I don't know. It would be better if he extorted one of those little scooter companies.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of, is like bicycles, little motorized scooters, all those things that like progressive cities are using, places like Seattle, where it's like kind of helping the environment, and somebody's like, nah, fuck this. I'm not having any of this.
That's too much.
All right, what else you got?
So officially licensed Pokemon weddings are now offered in Japan. And I just sent you a picture of it. It's actually a YouTube video. They're just covering it, but there's some pictures in the video where, so in the Pokemon company, because it's Pokemon and company and Nintendo who make all the games together. So Pokemon Company announced it's teaming up with a wedding planning firm in Japan to offer themed ceremonies featuring the franchise monsters. Wedding planning company Escrit and the Pokemon Company said they recently held the first officially licensed Pokemon-themed wedding, which featured appearances from 2 Pikachu mascots dressed as a bride and a groom. Photos shared by the Pokemon Company showed Pokemon-themed food items at the ceremony, including a cake with a Pikachu cake topper. The package also includes a marriage certificate laden with Pokemon imagery. So it's only available in Japan at the moment.
And it's like certified? Like it's... Yep. Okay, wow. How much are you looking at? Is there a price tag on it?
It didn't have a price tag on there. So let me go see. There's a link to the website, but it's probably in Japanese, so I don't know how much that would help us.
This is kind of like an eye-opener to me, because I know that Pokemon's huge in America. It's huge in Japan, obviously, as well.
Yeah, I'd say it's much bigger in Japan.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I didn't know for sure.
Yeah, so Pokemon Wedding Escrit, the page is very slow, apparently. Yeah, it's all in Japanese, so it doesn't tell me what it would be anyway. But
so, for example, like a show like Attack on Titan, it would be even bigger in Japan, you think?
Probably, yeah.
Right.
Like I know all the anime are like Naruto and everything. Oh, there's some really great pictures though on here for the Pokemon cake and themes, and it's would you do something like this? I mean, I think
I would,
we're
yeah. I
pretty
don't think
nerdy,
my
yeah.
wife would. Yeah. I mean, and not Pokemon specifically, no, but if there was like a Jurassic Park themed wedding, get the fuck out of here.
That's me. Is like I don't even say it from like a judging perspective. I actually think it's pretty freaking awesome. But no way in hell my wife would go for this.
No.
Yeah.
They're like, this is not your look. Do that for your birthday party, you fucking child.
So my wife was like, we were picking our wedding colors way back when, and she was like, I was like, green. And then she's like, why? For Hulk or Ninja Turtles? I was like, well, either.
Ninja Turtles.
And then she's like, well, no, we're not doing that. And so she's like, what color? And then I was like, well, let's do purple. And then I was like, I still got Hulk's pants and Donatello's headband in my wedding. That was the whole reason that I did. She's like, really? That's why. Have you ever seen those zombie themed weddings?
No, I mean, no. I've seen pictures of them before, but I've never actually like seen one in action. Never seen a video of one. Never been to one.
I saw a video of one. It was actually kind of cool. You know?
I've never been to a weird themed wedding either. You?
No, they've all been boring ass normal weddings.
I think like Disney weddings are probably pretty popular. Zombie weddings have got to be pretty popular.
Yeah, I would assume zombie wedding. Disney probably is a huge one, and I mean, I'm assuming in Japan, Pokemon is going to be another big one.
Yeah. If you were going to go themed wedding, what would you have done?
If anything I could choose,
Yeah.
zombie would actually be pretty high up there because then you could get dressed up yourself, which sounds really, really fun to me.
Yeah. The zombie wedding would be cool.
What about you? What would you do?
I don't know. I think that's kind of cool. Any way you do it, you're putting a whole extra level of pressure on your guests. So I think that's fun. That's why I think you should just go all out, like 4 hours in the makeup chair, zombie makeup for everybody. Like, if you're on the list, you're gonna have to come dressed in full-on zombie professional special effects makeup.
Yeah, like really, really do it all out.
And grandma's up in the chair for like 3 hours, like, I don't even like zombies.
Every person is zombies. How about this? You're a zombie hunter, you and the bride, and then everyone else is required to be a zombie.
It's like a paintball themed excursion. Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think because of the fact that I always just looked at weddings as like such the bride's day. Just any other time, like give me a themed Lord of the Rings party. So dinosaurs, man, I mean that would be fucking cool. I just don't know how you pull that off.
Like a dinosaur themed wedding?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or party or anything.
I mean, the closest thing would be those dumb blow-up T-Rex suits that everyone's obsessed with for a while.
Yeah, or you go the animatronics, or like Dinosaurs Alive. Did you ever do that exhibit when you were younger?
What's Dinosaurs Alive?
It was like almost a pop-up museum exhibit. It would come through like the Explorium in Mobile is where it would come through here, but they'll go from museum to museum, showroom floor, and set up a bunch of animatronic dinosaurs in like a fake jungle atmosphere, and you walk through and there's like little plaques. No. Yeah, they were cool. I mean, the robots aren't exactly the most sophisticated, but they were neat as a kid.
Yeah, I've seen something like this before, actually. I think maybe I have seen this. Might have came through like the museum before back home when I was a kid.
The weirdest one that I ever saw, and it was much more recently, but was the bodies exhibit where they've like bisected and like exposed the muscle tissue of a bunch of cadavers and have them positioned in all sorts of different like weird poses. You ever seen that?
I've seen pictures of it, but I've never actually seen it. It sounds interesting as hell.
It was fucking weird. It was weird.
Did it make you uncomfortable?
No, I mean, it's just strange. It's like, especially nowadays, like I feel like you can't justify it by saying it's science in the same way. because like there's a whole other like weird element to it, like the way that they're displayed, the way that like I don't know, it's definitely got art in it though, you know what I mean? Like it's more than just a scientific biology type thing. Because
so do they like pose them?
Yeah, they pose them in like not necessarily weird like gross ways, but did you ever see the movie The Cell back in the day?
Yes, love The Cell.
Okay, do you remember when he slices the horse into all the pieces?
Mm-hmm.
They'll have like exhibits like that, or like almost the way that Nebula's head was disassembled on the Avengers Infinity War, to where like as you walk by, all of these like slices, these little bisections of this thing all kind of come into focus. I don't know how to explain it. It's fucking weird, but
that makes sense. It's actually really cool.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. So instead of just doing Florida Man this week, I had an idea. There's a good couple of stories that I got here. I'm going to read you the headline, and you tell me whether it happened in Colorado or Florida. Man hires stuffed owl as his defense attorney.
That's a Florida man.
You would think. So apparently there was a Aspen man who was his name's Charles Abbott, and he appeared in Aspen courtroom on Tuesday. He's accused of violating a protection order involving his former roommate, who allegedly assaulted him at an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. Stranahan said that he violated the order by going to his home to retrieve belongings when the victim was out of town. In court, Abbott placed a fuzzy stuffed owl at the defense table and told the judge that the owl, named Solomon, would be his legal counsel until a public defender was assigned to the case. He was a very sensitive guy, has law degrees from Yale, Harvard, and Stanford, Abbott told the judge, according to the paper. I think he'll be able to represent me before a public defender comes online. So what do you think, man?
I think that's sound logic. I mean, this is very educated, so.
It could have very easily gone in the Florida direction. I think that we'll try to surmise this at the end, but this one right here, man arrested after calling 911 to brag about his escape from police.
No, that is definitely Florida man.
So we've got a Florida story. This 911 call was recorded from a kid, Nicholas Jones, and he says, I ran from a cop for 30 minutes to an hour, I ran from a cop 30 minutes to an hour ago. What do we pay you guys for? I've driven past 4 cops. The dispatcher says, what do you mean you ran from a cop? I mean, he turned the lights on me and got behind me, and he was walking up to my car. I did a donut around him and left. Florida police pulled Jones over for a broken taillight, but before the officer could get to Jones, he sped off. An hour later, Jones called 911 and made fun of the police for not catching him.
Why? So he got away and then called the police.
He couldn't leave well enough alone. Couldn't just escape from the fucking law. Had to call and patronize him. Got taken to jail.
Why would you do that? Be like, I'm good. But you know what? I'm going to call him just to rub it in.
Yeah, rub salt in the wounds. Even if they had to just walk home with their tail between their legs in shame, I'm going to go ahead and seal the deal for him and make this easy for him.
Yeah, I would totally... That's why there's a special brand I think stupid. There's weirder shit that happens around, but there's a special brand of stupid, I feel like, in Florida. That's why I was like, that's a Florida one.
Suspect thought he was on a TV show, refused to exit burning car.
That's Colorado.
That's you gotta admit, that's a special kind of stupid, though.
That's a special kind of stupid, but that's yeah, I think it's Colorado. Was it Colorado?
Boulder County, Colorado.
Yes, I was just gonna even say Boulder. That's how specific I was gonna get.
A man was arrested last week after the Colorado State Patrol says he refused to exit. Start that headline over. Some damn ad started playing. A man was arrested last week after the Colorado State Patrol says he refused to exit a burning vehicle and then assaulted law enforcement officers. A trooper told the radio station that the man told police he thought he was on a television show as he sat inside his burning vehicle in the Sunshine Canyon in the foothills just west of Boulder. Dude, he's literally just sitting in his car as it is up in fucking flames, and the cops come up to him and they're like, get out of your car, it's on fire. And he's just like, oh, I thought I was on a TV show. And they end up busting his windows out and like dragging him out of it. But I don't know. Yeah, when they asked... Go ahead.
At that point, you just let, natural selection take over.
Just like throw your hands up and just be like, well, we tried.
We tried, man. He didn't want to get out. And yeah, I don't know. It's... So my thing is like, the thought process, I'm assuming, again, like everything else on the show, is probably drug related, but how would he think he was on a TV show where they lit his own car on fire? It wasn't like he got into another car that was on fire.
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, what kind of show exactly would that be? Like, where you're driving down the road and your car just bursts into flames.
He's like, I read a story about Ashton Kutcher, and it got me thinking of Punk'd, and that's what I was on.
Man and woman arrested after leaving pig in hot car at mall parking lot.
Ooh, that's a hard one, because the pig thing makes me think Colorado. I'm going Colorado.
You would be incorrect.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's just one. You're doing all right so far. So a Florida couple were arrested for animal cruelty after leaving a pig in a hot car in a mall parking lot. They were like kids. They were like, let's see, on Monday, May 27th, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office responded to the Avenue Shopping Mall in Jacksonville to assist with an animal investigation regarding an animal in a vehicle. They used a window-breaking tool to free a small multicolored pig from the back seat. Then they placed it in their own back seat with a bucket of water. They arrested Trinity Tavares Soto at 19 and Mark Gray at 20, who walked out of the mall to the suspected vehicle. So they just camped out and waited for him to come outside and took him to jail. I mean, should you get arrested for having a pig in a car?
I mean, here's my thing. First of all, why the fuck do they own a pig? I always find that weird. Not to me when people own pigs. But, yeah, I mean, if it was a dog left in the car, we definitely have a different reaction. And pigs are smarter than dogs, so
yeah,
I guess so.
If the window was cracked and they were in there for 5 minutes, then they should never have broken the window out in the first place.
I agree.
The fact that the cops got there, had time to get there, kind of like they were responding to a call, so it had obviously been a minute. So, yeah, I mean, it's fucked up. They shouldn't have left the pig in the car. But, yes, I think the bigger question here is, like, why the fuck do you have a potbelly pig and you're, like, driving around with it?
Yeah, that was the whole reason I thought it might be Colorado, because we have a lot of, like, farming land out here. And I was like, maybe that's because... But it doesn't sound like these people are farmers. It sounds like these are people who just bought a pig.
Yeah, they're like they just look like derelict teenagers. Like they don't look like they do, or I don't know what they would be doing with that thing. Let's see. I think that this one's pretty obvious. Man arrested for hitting mom in the head with a corn cob.
That's I don't know. That actually sounds... I'm assuming that's Florida. That has to be.
It's totally Florida.
I was like, anything in the family fighting is Florida.
So this is Zephyr Hills, Florida. Pasco County man is behind bars after he said he hit his mother in the head with a corn cob. The incident was reportedly happened in a home at around 2 a.m. on Sunday. So mom got hit in the head by her 27-year-old son by a corn cob and called the police. Didn't have any physical injuries, but he got taken to jail for domestic battery. So you hit your mom in the head with a corn cob. To me, that sounds like a personal matter between two consenting adults. I mean, if you can't hit your mom in the head with a corn cob, who can you hit?
I know. I thought this was America. I just don't understand the logic of like how you escalate. I'm assuming they were eating the corn, and what gets from that point to slapping the person with the corn cob in the face.
I'm gonna take a stab in the dark at this because I think that's a fair question. 27-year-old son comes home to mom's house 2 a.m. drunk on I think they said it was like a Tuesday night, Tuesday the 27th. Mom hears disruption, something going on in the kitchen. It startles her. She's in the middle of her sleep. Obviously, she's a elderly woman. She wakes up and comes into the kitchen to find her drunk 27-year-old son eating leftover corn on the cob out of like the plate that she had nicely put aside for him. He's like hovering over it, just fucking tearing up this corn on the cob like a pig stuck in a fucking backseat of a car on a summer day in a mall in Florida. And the mom's like, "What are you doing? Why are you coming home at 2 a.m. drunk, eating straight out of the refrigerator?" And he's like, "You're not my boss." And he throws the fucking corn on the cob and it hits her in the head. And she says, "Me and your father have been trying for years, Jonathan." I don't know if his name was Jonathan. "We've been trying for years. And this is how you repay us? We're calling the police. It's for your own good." That's the end.
Is that how you think it happened? Or
I mean, that's what happened at my house. Yeah, shit. I don't know.
Maybe he went in there and he was eating the corn and it was her piece of corn. So she came out and she was angry. She's like, "I was saving that for tomorrow."
That was my corn.
Yeah. And they started arguing. A tussle ensued where they're like both fighting, rolling on the ground with the corn. And then he grabs it away from her and hits her with it.
She's like, "You know this stuff's up to 29 cents a pound.
Yeah.
You're done." So, yeah, well, yeah, I don't know. You don't
even pay rent, and now you're eating my corn.
You know that it was there's a lot of resentment between a mother and her 27-year-old son who's still living at the house.
Oh, yeah, there has to be. You know, if my kid's 27 still living at home, I'm going to lose my shit.
Yeah, you're like, you are 9 years overdue for a get out of here.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, get with it at this point.
You have outstayed your welcome by 33% of what I expected of you. Get out of here.
Like, I'm cool with, like, I'm even cool with, like, you're going to college 25.
Yeah, sure.
You know?
That was not the case. I don't have it in front of me that's not the case, but that's not the case.
Maybe that's what happened. This guy got home from college and famished from all the studying.
All right, one last one. Family victimized by funeral home in blank. FBI investigating.
Family victimized by funeral home in Boulder, Colorado.
Montrose, which I don't know where that is, but it is in Colorado. Colorado Springs family victimized by funeral home in Montrose, FBI investigating. So 50 families have received sand and concrete and not cremated ashes.
I should laugh at that. It's so awful.
Dude, this is a crazy fucking story because this funeral home was selling off body parts.
Oh, I was just going to say, why would they were selling them like on the black market?
They were a chop shop, dude. Yes, 100%. They were selling body parts for various reasons over the internet. And I don't know, there's some weird loading thing going on right now, but this is a strange case. It's still all under investigation right now. It came to light after something was discovered over in Europe about this body part black market thing. They traced it back here to this funeral home, and now it's just like more and more people are coming out like, we had our family cremated there or whatever, you know?
So who's buying these? Because I'm assuming, and this is the person's very far long deceased at this point.
That's a really good question.
Good.
It said for various reasons and not for medical reasons. Let me see. And that, to me, the reason why I say that is it almost sounds to me more like collectibles.
Like it's someone's out there. Yeah, that's a fucking weird one. Because I don't. Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. Somebody has a weird collection, which is terrifying.
The Colorado funeral home that sold body parts for a profit. According to Denver Post, there is an epidemic of misconduct in the funeral service industry in Colorado. Cremating the wrong body, leaving a corpse in an abandoned garage for 3 days, and in the strangest case, auctioning off body parts for profit. Actually, this is back from 2018, so this is a different story.
Oh, okay. So this is just going on in Colorado.
No, well,
Colorado Springs is about, I won't say midway, it's closer to Denver, but it's in between my hometown of Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Denver. And I've only been through it. I've been through it a bunch of times, but just literally on the freeway, it kind of doesn't look like the nicest place.
Yeah, I've been to Boulder, but it was a long time ago.
Man, I hate Boulder.
Why?
I just fucking hate Boulder. It's such a douchey, hippy-dippy, everyone stinks, up on their high horse. Oh, I hate it. I hate it so much.
That's the only place I went, but it was so many years ago.
Yeah, it's funny. Ago. I took my wife there, and my wife is like the nicest, always happy, always giggling type of person. She turned into the most moodiest person ever when we were in Boulder. She's like, "Why are we here? There's nothing fucking here. It's just a bunch." Yeah, it was bad.
Damn. With a population of about 20,000, Montrose is a community surrounded with the beauty of the Rocky Mountains. It's a community that's struggling to understand the stories and the accusations about what happened in the back room at the Sunset Mesa. I go to sleep with the visions of him being dismembered with a power saw, whose son's body parts were allegedly sold. Jesus Christ. Her 26-year-old son, they desecrated his little body. They cut him up into pieces and sent him all over the place. Her son's body parts were also allegedly sold. Like Minnie, Hansen found out her son, Frederick, during a phone call from an FBI agent. So an FBI agent called her and told her his head was sent to so-and-so, his two shoulders somewhere else, and I don't want to hear anymore. I'm trying to find a motive. That's the main reason why I'm going through this.
Yeah, because that's the thing I can't wrap my brain around, because my first thing was like, oh, selling organs. But I'm like, wait, by the time they get to a funeral home, I'm assuming all those, they're shot.
Right. The idea that like maybe they're sending them over to Mexico to use as an organ transplant. Like that's like the least horrible thing you could think of. But no, these are straight up cadavers at that point. Like most of the time, she was sold, embalmed, and shipped out within just a few hours of her death. So she was already embalmed and then shipped out. So they were sending, like, again, like cadaver. I don't know if they use them for medical purposes in other countries. For like, I don't know, man. That's some fucking weird stuff, because they ultimately profited from the sale of heads, arms, legs, torsos, and whole bodies.
That's that's actually terrifying. That's one of the few ones where I'm like, that's weird as shit. Because there's someone out there who's probably collecting this shit.
$1,000. Upper legs was $1,200. Heads went for $500 and $250 for a knee. Oh my god, dude. Well, that's fucking weird.
So the legs were more than the head?
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I guess skulls are easier to come by. Well, that's weird, because there are 2 legs for every head.
Yeah, to my thing, you think the head would be like the prized possession. If you're gonna, we're assuming collectors at this point. We have no fucking idea. But if you're gonna collect it, you'd assume that would be the thing.
Yeah, what am I, some sort of weirdo? If I'm gonna buy a human body part, it's gonna be their fucking head.
Yeah, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it right.
Seriously though, what? Like, seriously. Like every other part, I don't know, man. That's a weird story. But luckily, we don't have to end on that note. What do you want to talk about this week?
So, I want to talk about the reason I think you and me are so dumb. Because apparently, Twitter is eroding your intelligence. And now there's data to prove it.
Damn.
So, this comes from, well, I got this one from Washington Post. It's all over right now on a bunch of different websites. Evidence shows that the platform may be inflicting harm at an even more basic level. It could be making its users, well, a bit witless. The finding by a team of Italian researchers is not necessarily that the crush of hashtags, likes, and retweets destroys brain cells, that's a question for neuroscientists, they said. Rather, The Economist, in a working paper published this month by the Economics and Finance Department at the Catholic University of Sacred Heart in Milan, found that Twitter not only fails to enhance intellectual attainment, but it substantially undermines it. So essentially what they did, and to me, the conclusions drawn from it are a little loose. I don't know if you actually read any of it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. From what I gathered, I skimmed it. I should have read it better. But from what I gathered is they took about 1,500 students attending 70 high schools during the 26 to 2017 academic year. Half of the students used Twitter to analyze the late Matteo Pascal in 1904 novel by Italian Nobel laureate Luigi Pirandello, whichever, I probably butchered that, which satirizes itself for self-knowledge and self-destruction. So the other half relied on traditional classroom teaching methods. Performance was assessed based on tests measuring understanding and comprehension and memorization of the book. Using Twitter reduced performance on the test by 25 to 40% of standard deviation from the average result, the paper explains. So from what I gather, it seems like they taught it almost more via Twitter. Is that kind of what you gathered too?
Yeah, so they have 1,500 students from 70 different schools. They give them all, basically a essay or a comprehension assignment to where they say, hey, everybody read this book. Half of you are going to only in Twitter to discuss this book, and the other half of you are going to use more traditional means such as pen and paper and study groups. I'm not exactly sure what
the classroom setting.
Correct. Yeah, like the more traditional. This finding, the paper notes, bolsters the conclusion that blogs and social networking sites actively impair performance rather than simply failing to augment learning, which to me, I mean, that's not a big surprise because you're literally getting your elbows deep in the stuff when you've actually got all the physical media in front of you, where I think that the computer monitor in general lends itself to scanning and to just kind of grazing over entire articles as opposed to like really getting into the core of it.
Yeah, this is that's exactly how I determined it. But from the headline, it makes it sound like, oh, if you use Twitter, it's going to hurt your intelligence. To me, it more was a study that that Twitter is not the best way to learn new things, obviously.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like they're not necessarily the same thing. Something taking away from your intelligence, making you less intelligent, is different from this isn't a good way to obtain. This isn't the best way to obtain information.
Now, the way that I do think that it does kind of apply to modern life, it is making us dumber, is how many people use Twitter as their primary source of news.
Yeah.
And to me, that's where I drew that connection. I was like, that's terrifying to me because, and to me, I think you and me as people who've been very active on Twitter doesn't shock me. I see a lot of misinformation being thrown around on Twitter. A ton. This is scaring them out. And also when you break something down to, I think it's like 280 characters now. It's not the best format to discuss complex ideas at all. And that in that way, I do think it is probably detrimental to society's intelligence, not necessarily individual intelligence, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think it's a valid point. I think anywhere you can get information from is valid, is viable, is a reasonable place to get information from. If you can acquire knowledge from anything, then that thing was a legitimate way to acquire knowledge. But yeah, like you said, I think where it becomes a problem is if that's the only place that you're getting your information from is a tweet, because yeah, some conversations need more nuance than just, I mean, 140 characters, 280 characters is literally a headline worth of words. I mean, it's obviously a bit more than that, but it's not a whole lot to say anything with any real context, subtext, diving into the details about anything. It's just like, this is the most blanket, flat statement that I can make about it. Here you go. Take it for what it is. And if you don't dive deeper into it, then yeah, that has to be detrimental to learning. But even this headline in itself, Twitter is eroding your intelligence. Now there's data to prove it. That could be a tweet. And then you click on it and you look at the article and you find how much more there is to the story than just simply that.
Yeah, because that popped up in my like Google news feed, and I clicked on it right away, and then I read it, and I was like, well, it's not really the conclusion that it drew to it. It doesn't make you dumber from that study. It just seems like it's a bad way to absorb new information and talk about new information. And I thought it was interesting because I feel a direct correlation between that and modern politics. I feel like the social media generation has made everyone more extreme, made everyone honestly dumber politically. I know so many people, specifically online. I meet a lot crazier people on Twitter talking about these things than I do in real life. And it's because of that clickbait, rage bait. Then you just skim an article instead of getting too into it. And I feel like there is definitely a problem with that. And if you are using that as, like you said, your primary source, this could lead to long-term ramifications in society as far as intelligence is concerned. Not actual intelligence, because knowledge, I guess.
I think in a lot of ways, Trump has been a kind of soundbite president. I think he's based a lot of his identity has been built on Twitter. It's definitely his preferred means of communication on social media and stuff like that. And it feels like he is a person whose depth of understanding of a lot of issues and stuff that's going on right now just are reduced to real simple sound bites. And that's why it gets a little harder for him to like focus in on the specifics of the things that he's talking about sometimes, because I think that he is somebody who does scroll down Twitter and we all have emotional based reactions to the kind of stuff, but I think that's where it gets dangerous of spreading misinformation, is we see something that we have an emotional response to, and then we turn around to the person next to us who isn't holding the phone and we say that thing that we just now saw, then all of a sudden they go and pass that on, and it spreads this like just real simple miscommunication around.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I would say Trump is definitely a 280 character president. You know, like
yeah,
that's a very valid point. I think I would put in the same camp. I put Ocasio-Cortez on the left in that same camp.
Yeah,
where it's very rage, it's very skimming, but we see it with a lot of modern politicians. When they get pushed on certain issues, they kind of just flounder around and then shut down or say something that really makes no sense. Because and you see this in modern journalism too, which is sad. There was a study I read a while back ago that like journalists in mainstream media like are obsessed with Twitter. They use it more than like any other group, you know, probably as much as Trump uses it.
Yeah.
And they're surrounding themselves with echo chambers, and they're not discussing concrete ideas, which I don't think is good for the state of journalism.
Yeah.
Definitely don't think that's good. It's probably not even good, but probably even worse for politicians, because I am seeing a lot more Twitter campaigns Twitter is a huge part of politics now. It's weird to me, but it is. It's the new platform.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Have you ever felt that I'm sure you have. I know I have. Jumped to conclusions, overreacted, and then dug into something and going, fuck, I was wrong because of social media.
Oh my God. Yeah. More than I think anything else. I mean, it's almost secondhand information a lot of times. It's about as reliable as that because anybody has access to post on social media. So, I don't have a good example in front of me right now, but I think that more times than not, any sort of emotional, quick response that I've had to an issue has been 100% guided by something that I saw on social media.
Yeah, there was something recently that I did have a reaction to. Someone on the left said something, and I was like, "What the fuck? That's so stupid." And then I clicked on it, and I was like, I read that, and I'm like, well, that's not really what they said. You know? Like it was very manipulated. It was a right-wing news organization that did it, which is sad because a news organization shouldn't do it. But it was very like misinformation. And then when you got into the article was actually pretty good. It was biased, but it was pretty, broke it down.
Yeah, another thing I actually Captain Marvel thing. I think that was one that like I kind of went back and forth on. At first, when I had first heard of it is the time that you and I recorded that podcast, and I brought it up to you. And I think my general, just quick visceral reaction was just like, this fucking idiot, like how entitled does that sound, And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, diversity is not a bad thing. And then I thought even more about it. And I'm like, why does this woman give a shit about who criticizes movies or not? And then I started thinking about it again. And I was like, well, she was talking to a women's magazine. So like, of course you got to take it in the context of the fact that she was talking to a female audience at the time. And then I'm like, but ultimately she's just some entitled fucking, so like, yeah. Complex emotions. And it's like everything is nothing as far as emotions are that easy to quantify or to sum up. And I think that just to have like a adamant yes or no on things that are just kind of opinion based, I think is I don't know, man. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I overcomplicate things, but I just feel like to just be like hard line on one side or the other of many, many things is generally just kind of like stubborn.
I agree. And I've done it before. Like I've seen something and I'm like, oh, can you believe this? And put out a tweet. And then I'm like, deleted it afterwards.
Yeah.
I really, I know something that a reaction recently was the Jussie Smollett. When it very first came out, I was like, oh my God, how is, this is so horrible. This guy got attacked. Then I read the article and instantly deleted my tweet because I was like, bullshit. My gut feeling just said bullshit. But I already realized I made a mistake. I wasn't going to tweet out, this guy's full of shit, because it could come out he was right. You know what I mean? And I feel like you and me are the type of person who will click an article and at least scan it. But I feel like a lot of people, I see, recently, it's going to be celebrity news. It doesn't really matter, but the movie with Lady Gaga and what's his name, the country music one, movie,
Star is Born.
Yeah, with Bradley Cooper. He said in an interview, like, the title was like, Bradley Cooper says something about like him not being nominated for an Oscar, and he goes into the thing, you read it, and he's like, yeah, I just feel like I must not have done a good enough job, because everyone else was nominated, and as a director, I should have done better. I feel like I failed. That was his whole thing. And all the comments underneath it were like, oh, he's so entitled. He thinks he deserves an Oscar because of the headline. I'm like, you guys clearly did not even click on the link to read what he said. You just saw a headline and got angry at the headline.
And came to put your 2 cents in, scrolled all the way to the bottom of the article, didn't even bother to fucking read it, and just commented.
And think about how many people then went out into the world with a base understanding of something. This is so trivial, but something is that, who now are like, hey, did you hear Bradley Cooper? He's so entitled. He thought he deserved an Oscar for this movie. And it's literally not even close to what he said. So it makes sense, like you said, the telephone game aspect of it, how even though this headline we're talking about to me is a little misleading, it kind of is Twitter makes you dumb if you take too much from it.
Yeah. And, on another kind of separate note, Twitter is never kind of claimed to make its users smarter, but their mission statement is to give everyone the power to create and share ideas and information instantly without barriers. So does that mission statement, to give everyone the power to create and share ideas and information instantly without barriers, does that sound like the kind of mission statement of a platform that you should rely on for information?
No, I don't think any social media you should. I don't think, I agree with you. I don't think Twitter is, I think now they are actually trying to like cut down on fake news, and they are banning more people and this and this. And it's created another problem in my opinion.
Yeah.
But to me, I feel like self-regulation and accountability for how you interact with a platform is what's necessary. But I fear a lot of people aren't capable, maybe not even intelligent enough to realize what the platform is. Like it's people just saying whatever the hell they want, whether they're qualified or they've worked to earn that voice. And that's fine. That's what the platform is. All social media.
It's kind of like public square, and the idea that like in public, yes, we can all share information and ideas, but it doesn't mean that you should rely on the schmuck next to you to be the person that's like the end all be all. Hey man, did you hear that? Blah, 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 blah. And you're like, oh, okay, that's the gospel. Let me go spread that around. But yeah, I don't know. I think that they are powerful tools. I think that it could potentially be an opportunity for good. I think that there is an opportunity for people to share ideas that are constructive and positive and can build society up. But I don't think that there's ever going to be a time that it's a utopia and that everybody's using it properly or incorrectly. But short of institutionalized learning, like bringing the next generation up on top of it properly and responsibly, how do you institute that people our age and older learn how to responsibly use social media,
I don't know if there is a way, because also on top of it, the part that exaggerates this problem is, in order to get a platform on social media, to get a following, you tend to have to be even more extreme to stand out. Like, I bet you if me even came on here on YouTube and on podcast, and we're a little more hardline left or right, or a little more rage bait, we could probably grow a bigger following realistically. Like if you and me came on here and was like, the world's ending, Twitter makes you dumb, instead of reading the article. And that, I think, I don't know how to fix that problem. Besides, again, self-regulation of like, don't follow dumbasses who say extremist shit.
I think both of us know and knew that it's a calculated risk and that it may be difficult to find a base, but we're just have enough hope in humanity to think that there are people out there that just are craving a little bit of nuance, are craving somebody that's not just fucking riled up about the same shit that everybody else is riled up about,
Yeah, because even myself, there's a couple of YouTube creators that I've followed in the past, tend to be a little more on the right, or like classical liberal. And I've noticed, gotten a little more extreme, and I've kind of stopped following them personally, because I don't want that. I get enough of that around me all day, every day.
Yeah.
To where the more nuanced, like Tim Pools and Joe Rogans and those type of people, to me, stand out. And just hopefully, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I don't think Twitter is making individuals dumber. I do worry the implications of it dumbing down society, though.
So if society is being dumbed down, maybe it is some sort of like, I am a kind of a conspiracy theory person, and sometimes I think about it in terms of like, is it social engineering? Is it another like kind of modern version of the Coliseum? Like, keep everybody so focused on their little smartphones and little devices that they like are actually missing out on the big picture. But I don't know, because you see news like real time and things now. But on the conspiracy theory note, for a long time, if you said anything about UFOs, people would think you were pretty pretty far out, pretty fringe person. I think if you told the average American, like, hey, I saw a UFO yesterday, I would think the majority of people would be like, weird, but okay, like that's cool. I've heard people see those, but there's a little bit more credibility being lent to this whole theory of it now. And as it's indicated in the article, as I think you and I have even talked about before, the idea of something being unidentified is not the same idea as something being extraterrestrial. But in 2015 and 2016, there were a whole lot of sightings by the Navy on the East Coast of strange objects spinning, moving against the wind, accelerating and decelerating at speeds that would be almost impossible, burning amounts of fuel per energy that would, like, they said by the amount of movement and how much energy it would take to do that, they'd expect it to be in the hour, and it was up in the air for 12 hours. And there's all this footage and crazy shit. And basically what they're saying in this article is that since the advancement in tracking technology, there's been an advancement in sightings in unidentified flying objects. Did you read any of these stories, or did you see any of the video of it?
I didn't see the video, but I did read some of the stories. I didn't even know there was video. I looked on my phone and it didn't even show up on there.
Yeah, I actually saw a different article. I was looking a little bit deeper into it and happened to see some of the videos. I mean, it's pretty compelling stuff to hear it, not just in retrospect from people who served in the Navy, but as they're actually watching it. Like, I mean, here's just a quote from it. These things would be out there all day, said Lieutenant Ryan Graves, an FA-18 Super Hornet pilot who had been with the Navy for 10 years and who reported his sightings to the Pentagon and Congress. Quote, keeping an aircraft in the air requires a significant amount of energy. With the speeds we observe, 12 hours in the air is 11 hours longer than we'd expect. In late 2014, a Super Hornet pilot had a near collision with one of the objects. An official mishap report was filed. Some of the incidents were videotaped, including one taken by a plane's camera in early 2015 that shows an object zooming over the ocean waves as pilots question what they're watching. Quote, wow, what is that, man? Look at it fly. So this is like moments where they are viewing it on video, commenting on it as it happens. Is that pretty compelling shit to you?
Compelling as far as, do I think there are unidentified stuff? Absolutely. I don't think it's extraterrestrial like the article even said. To me, I would assume the much more logical is something someone's working on, to me, would make more sense. But if some of these sightings started in, way back when, and we still haven't seen implications of the technology, the other side of me says, well, that could be more compelling evidence for actual extraterrestrial.
Yeah, it's weird because on one hand, I would think military testing, some sort of new technology that the government's working on. On the same thought process, who would be more privy to that than the military? Like, you couldn't have flight operations going on with high-ranking military officials while at the same time you're having these undocumented tests going on in conflicting airspace. So it makes me wonder, like, some of this stuff maybe could be written off as like, hey, it was a commercial drone. Okay, sure. But a lot of these things, the footage, it doesn't add up. They look small to me. They look relatively small, but the articles say that they're like the size of a fighter jet, Mm-hmm. So, I mean, is it more likely that it's U.S. testing going on? Do you think it's surveillance of some other technology from another country? Like, what do you think this shit is? Because
I agree with you. So, if logically, I would assume it's U.S. because we're a superpower of pretty much unlimited wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Where we can make something like this. But I agree with you. If they were doing something super secretive, you think they'd be smart enough to go, hey, well, we have pilots in that area. Let's not test it there. So maybe somewhere that does have the financial, the monetary resources to go ahead and do that somewhere like a China or something of that nature could potentially be making something we don't know about.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. There's a lot of things that I will discredit, like I've said for a long time, is that the idea that like the only witnesses that we have to rely on to go with are like Hicks, uneducated people that could use the that might want the attention, want their little 5 minutes of fame on the talk shows or whatever. But then when there's like high-ranking military people who have respectable jobs, they have like families, they're answering to very high-ranking people in the Pentagon and shit, it seems like it would cause them more ridicule and more embarrassment to come out and say something like this if it weren't true. So they don't really have the same kind of incentive to fabricate a story as somebody else does. To me, I feel like there's not many more reliable witnesses than Air Force pilots or Navy pilots.
I would agree that this is definitely way more credible than, you said, some like hillbilly, who makes it up in the middle of nowhere. Definitely way more credible. But I don't know. Do you think it is extraterrestrial? Do you think it is? Or do you think it's man-made?
I have a hard time. With it. I think my first instinct is that it is an unmanned drone of some kind. That I don't know. As far as like physics wise, I am not a physicist. I have no idea how you could make something travel at those kind of speeds. If it were manned though, because I read a pilot talking about it. They're like, speed doesn't kill you. Acceleration and deceleration kill you. So
that too is the stopping is what kills you.
And that makes a lot of sense. It's like once an object is in motion, it will stay in motion until an outside force acts upon it, right? Gravity, friction, anything like that being an outside force. But so if you're flying, you're basically staying still. It's when you stop that your body moves, or when you go that your body moves. So it made a lot of sense to me. So if there were life forms in it, even if they were alien life forms, I don't see how they could withstand that kind of G-force unless their biology was totally different than ours. But my guess is it's probably surveillance of some kind. I think it's probably some sort of fucking crazy fast technology that relies on something other than conventional fuel. And
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go off the complete deep end and say it could be technology-based life. Then that would explain G-force.
Yeah. Well, okay. Elaborate though.
No, I'm just saying, like, I don't think that's what it is. But hypothetically, if you said it's something that is either biologically completely different with us, which would make sense, or very TV trope, cheesy sci-fi trope of being like android-based life, robot life of some sort.
Artificial intelligence.
Yeah, then that would not be privy to the same restrictions of G-forces.
Yeah.
But I think unmanned drone is much more likely.
It's interesting, man. This Navy pilot says the UFO was not of this world. This is a Navy pilot off California. And they said they opened up about their otherworldly experience. He says he had in 2004. His testimony comes just days after the Pentagon officially revealed the existence of a secret office investigating the existence of UFOs. Commander David Fravor, a former squadron leader who worked for the Navy as a pilot for 18 years, said on Monday he was on a routine training mission off the coast of California in 2004 when his unit was directed to go examine a strange unidentified object that was descending from 80,000 to 20,000 feet and then disappearing. Upon flying 60 miles to the location, he says he saw a tic-tac shaped object, which that is what everybody's saying, tic-tac shaped. So it's oblong, 40 foot long with no wings, just hanging it close to the water. He said it created a disturbance on the water, uncharacteristic of a helicopter or a plane, and moved rapidly. As I get closer, as my nose is starting to pull back up, it accelerates and it's gone. Faster than anything I'd ever seen in my life. We turn around and we say, let's go look what's in the water, and there's nothing, just blue water. So they saw it hovering, and then it just flew away, disappeared. He says he's not crazy, wasn't drinking. After 18 years of flying, I'd pretty much seen everything I can see in that room, and this was nothing close to that. So
my thing too is, if this were, not that I think this is alien, because I do not, but if this were U.S. testing of something unmanned, I really don't think they'd allow someone like this to ever speak out on the issue.
And yeah, correct. Yeah. And, a minute ago when we were talking about, would they let these training things occupy the same airspace with actual people who were training military missions, there's also the fear of, like, we just don't want it to be exposed. So why let these people see it and then have to worry about them going out and talking about it afterwards? Like you said, if it were extraterrestrial and they were trying to keep it a secret, we would have never heard from these guys.
Yeah, but then even if it were testing and they were trying to keep it secret, we'd have never heard from these guys.
Right.
So
yeah.
That's the thing that's weird to me is if they were testing and let's say they went to an accidentally, they're like, fuck, we messed up. We went into this airspace that we shouldn't have while testing. Unless the whole end game is, well, no one's going to believe them anyway because of rednecks have been claiming this for years.
At this point, with deep fakes, with the advancements in special effects and CGI, with every camera trick that we know exists under the sun now, and even special effects that can be achieved in real life, what would it take for you to believe that we are being visited by extraterrestrials?
It would have to come down and meet with the president at this point for me to believe,
meet with the president on television.
Yeah, it'd have to be something like that.
And if they met with the president on television, you would take it at face value?
Yeah, if there was 40 different news channels covering it, yeah.
Yeah.
Cell phone videos of different angles and everything.
Yeah, there we go. That's that. See, once it shows up on World Star Hip Hop or fucking Twitter or something, just unfiltered, unedited, not from any major news outlet, just some dude on the streets got a video of an alien, on signs. That's when I'm like, oh, fuck this, it's going down.
Yeah, if they were walking around, there'd be let's say it landed, a spaceship landed, there'd be thousands of videos of it up on social media within the next hour, of different angles and different that. It would be one of those things. It'd be pretty concrete, and I just feel like everything, like the Bigfoot stories we cover and all that, if this were really going on, I just find it really hard to believe that we can never find anything even remotely concrete or more than multiple sources with video.
Yeah, man. You got to look at these videos afterwards. They didn't, to me, they were hard to, I guess that's the nature of the thing. They were hard to identify. You guys let us know what you think, though. I will have played some of that video here. And
they weren't like my high quality thumbnail that I sent you that I doctored.
Those were pretty nice, man. Those are strong. Yeah. What are you making those on?
An app called Poster Maker, and then I just was searching for transparent background images and stuff, and just transposed it over the article picture.
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah, I've always been interested in the UFO thing. I think it's fascinating. I think that it's mostly mass hysteria, but there's just lately there have been a couple of things, man, with NASA talking about it, with the government having special wings dedicated to it, with more credible sources coming out. I think that unidentified flying objects are only going to get more common as personal flight, like vehicles, cars and shit that can fly become more likely and more common,
Oh yeah, then it's going to be a nightmare. We're never going to know when anything. Then we'll actually have aliens come down and just drive amongst us and we'll never know.
Yeah, won't even notice. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming by to check this episode out. Caleb, it's been fun.
What up? It's been fun, man.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again next week.
Absolutely.
Oh shit, dude.
Next time.
This was episode 20.
Was this episode 20?
I didn't even bring that up at the top.
Oh man, well if you've made it to the end, thank you guys for watching 20 episodes of us talking about nonsense.
No sense. All right, guys. Until next time, and on behalf of me and Caleb, be terrible.